This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson.
Yes, hello. It is your host, Harry Wilkinson, and welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. This is a show where we explore the days and weeks events in the media, in the news, in film, in literature, all of the things that influence our daily lives, and we look at them from a spiritual perspective. We look at how they can help us to grow and expand spiritually, and how we can interact with these things in a healthy way, rather than in a way that stresses us out, upsets us, fills us with negativity, all of those things that seem to affect us greatly, particularly in an era where we are bombarded, if you will, because of our technologies and the amazing advancements that we are able to continue to create. We literally know things almost at the moment that they happen. And for those who are not used to that, in other words, we have an entire generation of people who are now growing up used to the instantaneousness of communication, used to news 24/7, used to immediate interaction with human beings halfway across the world. We have a generation that is growing up used to that. However, for many of us who didn't grow up with that, it's quite a challenge to be exposed to as much as we are exposed to in the world now. And to me, it is a great blessing, ultimately, because it helps us to get even a greater understanding of what we are creating in the world and who and what we really are. But nevertheless, it can be very challenging. And one of the impetuses in creating this show for me has been how I've heard so many spiritual teachers and spiritual seekers talking about, the negative effects of the media, all of these negative stories that come out in the press, and how that can warp your view of the world and make you depressed and make you anxious and so forth and so on. And I suppose that it can. However, many people have thought that the answer is just simply to disconnect from those influences and to block them out. And while I think that can work to a certain degree, it's very hard to do, number one, with any complete success, and number two, just because of the ubiquity of media, and not just media, but all of the information we have coming at us from all directions, it's, unless you are willing to move to a mountaintop and live a different style of life, you're going to have to interact with these things. And to me, disconnecting from them is missing a huge opportunity. It's missing the opportunity to look at these things from a different way. Instead of going into our negative belief systems or our fear generated systems, we can look at anything, go into the experience and what it brings up to us, feel that, and then turn it around, and then look at it and recognize the truth of it, the truth of who and what we are, the truth that we created this illusion whatever the illusion happened to be, to teach us something about our true spiritual nature. And that is the guiding course of the show. Now, if you believe, that there isn't really a spiritual nature, if you believe that, the body is everything, that we are our bodies, and that after our bodies go, there's nothing more, and that there's really nothing beyond our, biological functions, if that is your belief system, then this probably is not the show for you. I don't know if you can get anything out of it. Maybe you can, just by, be taking a different perspective on things, and not allowing perceptions of negativity to guide your day, if you will. Maybe that is something that you can have even without a spiritual belief system, particularly. I don't know. Be interesting to hear from anyone who might be listening, who has that perspective. However, let's move on now to talk about some of the days and weeks events, and we're also going to feature a spiritual approach, a yoga approach to dealing with the blues. This time of year, winter time, can be very depressing for many people because of the lack of sunlight, the change in the weather. If you live in an area where there is that sort of change in weather, there is there can be a psychological effect of depression with all of the changes in the, as I say, weather, light, and all of those kinds of things. They call it SAD, seasonal affective disorder, and it does affect many people, and at varying levels. So we're going to talk about a yoga pose that you can do if you are affected by such things, that can boost your happiness level and maybe lift you up out of any depression you might be feeling. So we'll take a look at that at the towards the end of the show. But first, I want to reach out to those who may be being affected by the very large snowstorm that hit the East Coast, the Northeast, throughout New England and Connecticut and New York, dealing with a large amount of snow. Now, there's been an awful lot of talk about extreme weather events and how they seem to be getting more extreme, and how this is related to global warming and man's effect on global warming. And I'm glad that's in the consciousness now, because it really does seem to be very much in the consciousness. And while there still seems to be quite a bit of resistance to the idea that global warming even exists, let alone that it's having the effect that it's having, I think that resistance is starting to wane, and it will continue to wane. Sadly, I think it takes event after event after event like this to make that happen. But as I said, we create these events, these illusions, these holograms that we participate in to teach ourselves things. And not even just to teach ourselves things, but to just experience ourselves in a different way. So, snowstorms or weather events are the same kind of thing. We are creating them all, believe it or not. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about how, in the wintertime, as I said, some people suffer with depression, some people are just battling with cold weather and snow. So you go through a lot of moods, and so I wanted to just talk about a little bit about how you could get in touch with your spiritual nature during this period of time. And this comes to us from the Brousseau, Frederick and Marianne Brousseau. There are many meanings and moods to the seasons of winter. Weather and the darkness affect our feelings. The rhythm of our lives change, and we spend more time inside savoring the warmth. We relish the chance to slow down and have some solitude. And I certainly do. I mean, I actually like the ability to have the solitude and to slow down and to have the world around me kind of slow down too. It's can be, for me, and this is my reaction to it, but when the weather gets warm and is nice outside and people are all around you doing all kinds of things, all of that energy can get, for me, a little bit, it can tax me a bit. So it's nice that winter slows everybody down around here. Continuing on, we in the north are used to plunging temperatures, slush and snowplows on city streets and slippery highways, but there's also the other side of winter. Its pristine beauty and its many opportunities for playfulness. And this is a quote from Thomas Merton, a Christian monk. And he compares the spiritual life to the search for a path in a field of untrodden snow. Walk across the snow and there's your path. To encourage you to explore the many parts of this path, you can think about a different approach to it. You can look forward to the approach of strong or unusual weather. So instead of complaining, when snow and sleet and freezing rain are on their way, you can look at them as an adventure and embrace them. There's always these elements of things that happen when we have these snowstorms and we have these weather events. They do tend to turn your normal schedule upside down, but they also provide these amazing opportunities where you connect with your neighbors and your friends over these things. Whether you're out shoveling the snow and a neighbor needs to borrow your shovel, or you help somebody out of whose car may be stuck in a snowbank or something like that. These are incredible moments for connection that we can, enjoy. I mean, how many people really interact with their neighbors? I think in smaller towns that happens quite a bit, but I think increasingly a lot of people, if they even know who their neighbors are, never talk to them, never have a conversation with them, never interact with them in any meaningful way. You might pass by and say hi if you're friendly, or smile or nod. But I know around here in this area, people are awfully busy and don't generally tend to get a chance to interact with each other. And even if they did, they wouldn't really embrace it. So when you have a weather event that kind of slows you down and changes your world a little bit, it can provide you with the opportunities to really connect with others. Cold weather, a lot of people enjoy it. If you prepare for it, if you bundle up, you can kind of enjoy the change in the weather. Some people can't do that, and that's fine too. But you can at least see it as a challenge that you can work your way through. And perhaps the challenge is finding the blessing in it. And you can look at changing weather as a meditation on changes of all kinds, changes in your life, the circle of life, if you will, the cycles that we go through in the seasons. Knowing that even though it's cold now and there's snow on the ground now, as the cycle moves forward, the sun will be out, you'll be back on the beach and enjoying that kind of weather and maybe complaining about how hot it is. So it's a great way to think about the cycles of the world that we live in, too. And if you want to get cosmic about it, you can think about cycles in a greater, more cosmic or geological sense as to how the Earth is changing. That it, one time this planet was covered with ice, and now it is this amazing ecosystem that we need to think about how we interact with, and the pain that we may cause it in not taking care of it. So there's a meditation that you can do on that. You can meditate on the universal systems, the moon and the planets, and how they move and have cycles too. It's a wonderful time to really kind of do a sort of inward meditation. And that really is what winter is about. It's an inner meditation. It's a time for inward reflection that we take with us when in the spring we start to move outward. I think that's the ultimate cycle of in and out. There's a time when you have to turn within and gather your resources and strengthen yourself from within, and then once that is done, you then very naturally move outwards to live that, to share that, to express that in the world. And of course, this time of year is, the time of year of Groundhog Day, which we had last week. Didn't get a chance to talk about that, but it's besides being one of my very favorite movies, starring Bill Murray, which is, by the way, a spiritual film, if ever there was one. A great meditation on, how we just keep reliving things over and over again until we get it. So yes, definitely, Groundhog Day is a great film to rent if you haven't seen it yet, or if you've seen it a million times and enjoy it as much as I do. It's always great to see. So again, Groundhog Day, the groundhog's supposed to see its shadow, and if it sees its shadow, there's 6 more weeks of winter. If it doesn't, then we have an early spring, that kind of thing. Interesting folk tale. I mean, in the days when you were concerned about particularly, weather conditions and agriculture and farming, and you didn't have accurate ways to measure that, you could look at the sun's movement, the shadows, and so forth, and make a prediction as to whether things would get warmer sooner or later. And I think that's probably where the whole groundhog tradition came from. But as I say, winter's a time to think about change in your life and how you couldn't possibly make the changes that you want to make. We start that process, I guess, after January 1, when we have these, New Year's statements of how we're going to change our lives, and we make these commitments that we're going to get thinner or more active or find a new job or whatever it is that we're looking for. And it's all about changes we want to make in our lives. So as we get to Groundhog Day, which is also around the time of what they call Candlemas, 40 days immediately after Christmas, and it also is the halfway point between winter solstice and spring equinox. So it's this sort of time when you can really start to begin to change the trajectory as we start to move towards spring, gradually shifting our energies staying within, of course, but as we gradually begin to make steps towards making the changes that we want to make. And I think it's a very natural process. Now, I've lived on the West Coast for various parts of my life, and while there doesn't visually seem to be any changes in the weather, although very slight changes, there still seems to be a change in feeling. So even though the change in seasons may not be as evident physically on the West Coast, I think there's definitely a seasonal change in emotion and feeling, and just in how we as humans go through our day. The days are shorter wherever you go, whether it is on the West Coast or the East Coast. So that in itself is a change. And as the days get longer, and we have more time, waking time, that also makes a big difference. So those are all things to think about as we are in the midst of our winter coldness, and perhaps for some the winter blues. So on to some things we can take some comfort in. Recently, it was discovered that there was an asteroid coming very close to our Earth. Actually, it's coming very close to hitting Earth next Friday. They're expecting it to narrowly miss, and there's no real chance that it will, or possibility that there will be an impact on Earth. But it's brought to these experts an awareness and more research on the number of asteroids and meteors that we are bombarded with, and the effect that they have on the planet and on the weather. Researchers have sort of confirmed with even more evidence, particularly these researchers at apparently it's the University of California, Berkeley, and they really link the demise of the dinosaurs, their extinction, with the impact of a 6-mile wide asteroid that hit the Yucatan coast of Mexico around the same time as, apparently accordingly to the geologic time scale, which apparently is a huge time scale, these two events, if you look at them from that perspective, they occurred almost exactly the same moment. And so the research is more and more pointing to the idea that this asteroid impacted the planet and changed the environment to such a degree that the dinosaurs could no longer exist. So, count your lucky stars, we're still here. And the damage that we've managed to do to the planet seems to be nothing compared to what one asteroid hitting us could do. So that kind of puts things in perspective. So I'm going to continue on with a little bit of science here, because I talk frequently about how physics, particularly quantum physics, as they begin to understand more and more and answer more questions, the traditional view of the universe is changing rapidly. The idea that the atomistic perspective, that matter is static and stable and created with more or less permanence until it goes away, is rapidly being seen to be not true. And more, the quantum physics view of the world around us being fluid, and that we are actually creating it as we observe it, more and more research is pointing to the idea that, the subatomic particles are what are really creating the world around us. And part of what we were discovering, and we've talked about the Higgs boson particle, which they've all but confirmed now exists thanks to the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. Now we're looking at this concept called dark matter. So, what is dark matter? Going back to the 1970s, Vera Rubin, an astrologer, as he was measuring the speed of stars in the galaxy, noticed that the stars at the galaxy's edge moved faster than they had predicted. So this seemed to be at odds with the law of gravity. So she and several scientists proposed that there is a matter that we can't see, and it was called dark matter. And so physicists are trying to find the subatomic particles that are missing in this dark matter. This dark matter estimates are, now I've heard all kinds of estimates, from 26% to 80% of our matter is created or is made up of this missing dark matter. Now, it's connected to this whole Higgs boson thing. It's supposed to account for the total mass of the universe and can't be seen with telescopes because it doesn't emit or absorb light or any of the electromagnetic radiation that allows us to observe it in traditional matter. Now, dark matter, as I said, is estimated to constitute 84% of the matter in the universe and 23%, 23% of the total energy density, with almost all the rest being dark energy. So now what's happening is there's an experiment going on in a deep, dark cavern. And this cavern is beneath a mountain in Gran Sasso National Laboratory in the Gran Sasso mountain range. And here these scientists are researching and coming to get an even greater understanding of what this dark matter is. They're down there because it's quieter. And we'll talk about going within for silence in the winter. Boy, they're really doing this. And now they are trying to find the protons, neutrons, and electrons that are associated with dark matter. And as the scientists say, it's just an odd form of matter, and the fact that we don't perceive it readily. And this is because it doesn't feel the electromagnetic force. Light doesn't bounce off it, and so we can't interact with it the way we usually do. And scientists believe millions of these particles pass through us without a trace, but that every now and again a piece will bump into regular matter. And they are hoping to detect this with what they call the dark side 50, which is a large metal sphere, which is a particle detector scintillator. And they're hoping to be able to observe more of these dark matter energies moving. All right, so my goodness, I meant to get to this yoga pose, so let me do this quickly before we run out of time here. It's called the seated forward bend, and it helps aid not only depression, but also your digestion, your liver, kidney functions, all of those things. So quickly, let me explain how this happens. Excuse me. So basically, Seated forward bend is what it sounds like. You sit and you bend forward. And it's called the intense stretch of the West. It calms the brain and helps relieve stress and mild depression, as well as stimulating liver and kidneys. Sit on the floor with your bottom on a blanket. Press actively through your heels. Rock slightly onto your left buttock and pull your right sitting bone away from your heel with your right hand. Then repeat this on the other side. Turn the top thighs in slightly and press them down into the floor. Press through your palms or fingertips on the floor beside your hips and lift the sternum gently towards the ceiling. And that is the beginning of the pose. And we'll explore this pose